like the fall is the best time to visit, but it's been raining and like freezing rain.
You should have done it.
Yeah, usually like
I'm not like this way too much stuff.
I swear.
Look at the website. It's like talking to
Yeah, I guess
like
my thing was a recommendation.
like,
Minus 4 points that I got. I understood. But there are lots of ways when you're heading like that. Can you explain why it's wrong? Because like, he's sitting.
Especially in
So
that major,
he got through the
for some
first
reason,
one,
like,
right?
very
And I didn't know if it was like,
medicine.
he's like, well, you know, and he starts talking and he stops. No, actually, I think this does still fill those requirements.
I don't know.
No, I had a 92.
Am I starting?
I don't know. You can start. Wow, Ben, quite the man. Welcome, everybody.
I drove him to school for 2 years.
yeah.
Then
Alright, this is Maria Lynn. She is a junior? Sophomore at Vanderbilt University in Tennessee. She is a major in biomedical engineering, and she's going to be here to talk to us.
great. Yay! Good morning, guys. Like Ben said, I'm in biomedical engineering. And so he asked me to come in today. You guys are all interested in bio and kind of talk about where bio's led me. So first of all, good morning. It's really early. I have not gotten up at 6 a.m. since like high school because it's way too early. You guys will enjoy college because classes are at like 10. This is a picture of me in bio class in 2010. And it wasn't this room. I think it was the one across the hall, but it was back there. And we had been worried about the nervous system, and this was my first sprain. And I, as a BME, one of my favorite things in the whole wide world is sprains. I'm really interested in like imaging. So this is a really big point in my high school career, and it kind of made me realize I wanted to go into a science major. And so I applied to Vanderbilt University, and it's where I go right now. It's a small research-based university in Nashville, Tennessee, and the engineering school, which is the school I'm in, is really small and really wonderful. It's about 300 people, and we have like all kinds of engineering, and I'm specifically in the biomed program. And it's really neat because we have a really strong med center and a really strong neuroscience program. So there's a lot of collaboration between all different schools. So I got to Vanderbilt and I was like, I know I love BME, but I also really kind of think brains are cool. And freshman year took my first class in neuroscience, and it was just an intro class, but I was like, all over it. Like, I would come home and I just read my textbooks and tell all my friends like facts about the brain, and drove them crazy because they didn't really care about the brain, but I thought it was like the best thing ever. And then this year I took a neuroanatomy course and I just had the final, so some fingers. I did okay, but it was a super in-depth look at basically the structures and the functionality of the brain. So I spent a lot of my time looking at pictures like this and labeling and circuits, but it was really enjoyable. I learned a lot about it, and it kind of pushed me towards moving this semester. So another kind of backup in my life story, I have worked at a school called West Metro in Excelsior for a couple of years, and they're a school that specializes in autism, and it just was something that I've been really interested in. And so I was looking at labs at Vanderbilt because a neat thing about going to a research university is that there are labs to work at. And I found this lab that combined biomedical engineering, autism research, and neuroanatomy. So I emailed this lab, I talked to them, and I went in an interview, and I actually ended up working next semester in this lab. And I got to see my first MRI like in person a couple weeks ago, and they also use a cool technology called DTI, which shows, instead of like structure, it shows circuitry. And so I'll be looking at DTI and MRI images of children with autism and trying to find like things that are like similar between all of them that could possibly be a biological basis for the condition. So that's kind of where I've gone with biology in short. And it's just neat that you can start with such a broad focus like AP Bio, where you have to learn about plants, which I really don't like. And you can take all of your knowledge and apply it to very specific interests to you. So that was really what I learned from Linn-Biomedical Bio. I know a lot of you probably have questions. A lot of you are probably rising seniors, or you're already seniors, and you have questions about college bio. So I thought I'd just kind of give you that little intro, and then you guys can just ask questions if that's all right with you guys. You guys have questions, be brave. You can do it.
At Linn-Biomedical, when you took AP Bio, did you take that same course in college, or did you go up to cover it at not even an option?
So at my school, AP Bio counts as an intro level course for non-majors. So if I was an education major or something, it would have counted for my requirement. But as a biomedical engineer, I did the next level of bio, which was still intro bio, but like much more in depth. So I got credits, but they didn't really help with my major. But like the basis, you go get it here, it's incredible. Like I felt so prepared going into that class. Like it was a hard class, a lot of people like struggle with it, but just having the knowledge from Linn-Biomedical was incredible. I knew how to pipette on the first day of biolab, which like, a lot of people were like, what is this? I just a pipette. So yeah, it was a good way to start. And it depends on the school too. Like I know some schools are different.
Where are you planning to work once you get out of college?
I currently am thinking I'm going to be a student forever and probably apply to grad schools. I'd really like to be like a professor with a research lab. So I'll probably end up at a college somewhere with my own lab, hopefully, if all goes plan. But as far as BME goes, there's a lot of industry in Minnesota actually, like Medtronic and 3M, and like a lot of smaller companies as well that you could go and work for and do like analysis or like research and development.
What's considered about neuroscience that you enjoy?
I am just amazed at like the complexity of the brain. It's just like a blob of mush really when you actually look at it, but the circuitry and the like biochemistry that's going on is incredible, and it's also just very relevant because there's so much wrong with how we treat mental illness in the United States, and that's just kind of like my soapbox kind of thing. And I think it's really important that we look deeper into neuroscience to try to find solutions to things that people are afflicted with and don't really have cures for. I know it's fairly
I'm sorry. What are they doing wrong then in mental health?
There's just very little knowledge about the biological basis of a lot of conditions. I mean, we don't necessarily know why people have anxiety disorders or depression. We just know that they exist and they can sometimes be treated with a drug that someone felt. But it's really neat. We had a neurosurgeon coming to a lecture a few weeks ago, and he does deep brain stimulation surgeries for Parkinson's patients. And he was talking about how these types of surgeries could be applied to other situations. So deep brain stimulation is basically like put electrodes in a specific like nucleus of the brain, and the activity like that goes to the electrodes either stimulates or inhibits areas that aren't working properly. So like in Parkinson's, it's stimulating an area that can help them with more fluid motion. And he was talking about how there's kind of this spectrum of neurological disorders, and you start with the motor disorders, which are like Parkinson's, or like Huntington's, and then you can move to like Tourette's, because a lot of times Tourette's has a motor component. And then from that, if you take the similarities between that and OCD, there's the potential that OCD could be treated this way. You could go all the way to like anxiety disorders, because it's almost just a spectrum. Like it ranges from like motor to completely like emotional. But it's really neat. So hopefully there will be more understanding of how these conditions are working and like what circuitry is not functioning right. So it's pretty interesting and very new as far as neuroscience goes.
If you do end up getting your own lab someday, what would you want to work on?
I'm really partial to autism. I think it's one of the most interesting conditions out there, and the kids I've worked with over the years are just incredible people, and I know a lot of times they try to share themselves with the world, but it's just very hard because of what they're dealing with. And so I'd love to learn more about ways to either diagnose at an earlier age so that they can get the education and support they need, or find ways to help relieve some of the symptoms, because I think they benefit a lot of the individuals.
Are you involved with a special needs program at Vanderbilt?
I was in Best Buddies. It's I have it at a lot of colleges. It's basically an organization where a college student gets paired with a young adult with a mental disability. And I was in that last year, and this year it just didn't work out scheduling wise. But he was really cute and wonderful. And it was sad because they emailed me this year and like, Jamie's been looking for you. And I felt really bad.
So what would you do in that? Best Buddies program?
Best Buddies is basically a social club, so we would go like weekends and have like brunch with them, or like we had a Halloween party. There was a prom that we went to, so lots of different social events. And then the lab I'm going to be working in, I'll actually be helping like with all the kids that come in, so I'll probably get to sit in an MRI room with some of the kids and perform like cognitive testing with them. So Vanderbilt has the #1 special ed program in the country right now, so they know your stuff. It's really interesting.
What classes have you taken so far in college?
That's a good question. I have taken a lot of math. So I've taken like calc. I just started over because I did IB and I wanted a 6 or 7. So I started out in calc, and I went and got calc and multivariable, and then I just finished linear algebra. As far as like bio-related classes, I've just taken intro bio, and neuroscience and neuroanatomy. And then as an engineer, I had to take biomechanics course this year, which I absolutely love. So that's another cool application of bio. So it's basically physics, but you're applying it to like bones and tissues. And I took circuits, which is another like an engineering course, but it's neat because your brain is a circuit, and so I'd go to neuroanatomy and be talking about feedback and feed-forward circuits, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I've done these in a totally different context. So that's kind of what I've done. I didn't have to take chem, which is good. I took physics. So the good thing is, after freshman year, you're kind of done with generals. So that was basically all just like science classes last year. But now, like next semester, I'm really excited. I'll be taking a class about like autism as like a legal and medical issue. I'll be taking a biomanipulation course, so I'll be learning how to culture different kinds of cells in lab. And that's the other cool thing about like taking bio in college, is that your lab is a class. It's a 3-hour to 4-hour class every week, and you just go and do lab stuff. It was really neat. I was telling Ms. Martin that my TA for the class was actually a Minnetonka grad, and it was so funny because the first day of lab, she came in and was like introducing herself. I was like, you sound really smart. You never saw that. And we found out that we live like 5 minutes away from each other back here, and that she had been at Minnetonka like 3 years before I had. So it's a very small world as well, but biolab's really neat. Like you get to spend 3 hours pipetting cells, and they try to apply lots of like real world situations. Like one of the labs I did this year, we were actually taking a DNA vector, growing it in like E. coli, and then seeing if it's like resistant to ampicillin and stuff like that. So just very cool, applicable things if you're interested in like research about it.
Did all of your AP credits apply at Vanderbilt?
Most of them did in some way. I was saying about bio, it counted, but it doesn't count for a major. So like I have like 4 hours of bio credit, but it didn't like cover my bio requirement, if that makes sense. But like AP Chem transferred, which was nice. All my English classes did it too. The only one that didn't was IB Med. Only this much better. It's okay. So yeah.
Do you have any advice or anything that, if you were in high school now, that you would wish someone would have said to you?
I wish that I had looked into doing research in high school, which I know is like a very hard thing to do because you're so busy all the time. But I wish that maybe over the summer I had talked to a lab at U of M or something and gone in, and even if you don't work there, maybe just going and visiting the lab and learning about what they do. Or if you're interested in medicine, maybe you find a doctor you can shadow, because you kind of realize after a couple of years being out of high school that there was so much opportunity for learning outside of the classroom that you probably didn't really think about. So for those of you who are really interested in either research or medicine, I would find somewhere they can go and meet with a researcher or with a doctor and just learn a little bit more, because it'll be an experience that really equips you.
How big of a role does an actual lab play in your major in college classes?
Like a research lab or like lab during
Like
the
a
class?
research lab.
Okay, so I'll be working in a lab 10 hours a week, which sounds like a lot, but you're only in class maybe 2 or 3 hours a day. And the nice thing about my program, and I'm sure other schools do it as well, is I could get credit for like science electives by being in a lab. So I can get up to 6 hours of credit for lab work, which means that I don't have to take as many random science classes. I'll be doing something that I like better than maybe like astrology and still be getting that credit. And it's also just a really good way to network and get to know people in your field. Like the lady who runs my lab, she'll be able to write letters of recommendation like for grad schools. And I'll probably get to know other VMEs through the process who are interested in similar things. So if I ever wanted to collaborate with them, I'd be able to meet them. So a lot of it's just getting to know the people that you want to get to know.
What helped you decide that you wanted to go into biomedical engineering instead of just like normal bio or neuroscience?
Yeah. So I started out my first week of freshman year. I was pre-med. I was gonna be a doctor, and then I had like a moment where I was like, I really don't like blood. Like I really can't handle blood, and like I think I've known that all along, but I just didn't want to admit it yet. And so I went to my advisor like the first week, and I was like, like I think I'm dropping this whole pre-med thing. And I kind of been set on biomedical engineering in the first place. I was always a BME, but I was a pre-med BME, if that makes sense. And I guess the reason I really like it is that it's more behind the scenes. Bio itself, like you can do a lot with it. You can go to med school, you can research, but a lot of it is very like small and particles and molecules. And I really liked the more like holistic, let's treat the whole body kind of thing. So BME is a really good way to kind of have more options. It's also, at least for me, more of what I'm good at. I really like math, I really like physics, whereas memorizing isn't always my strongest thing. And so being able to apply like the physics and the statistics and things to biology through BME has been really a good experience for me. So it's just kind of what suits you and like your learning style. I mean, I know people in bio who are in BME labs, they're just doing a more detailed oriented. tell you more about. Oh,
Can you just talk more about Vanderbilt?
sure. So it's a small university. It's about 6,000 undergrads, and it's a research university, which you've probably heard the word and maybe haven't thought about what it means necessarily. But really, what it is all the professors have a lab, and so they all have classes they teach, but outside of their time in the classroom, they're working on interesting research. So it's pretty neat because they really bring their passion for that into the classroom. So, like for example, my advisor is studying biophotonics, which is basically how can light affect the body, and they've actually done studies where you can insert rhodopsin dye into the brain and stimulate it with fiber optics that are like conducting light, and you can stimulate these areas. And so it's really neat because I'll be going in for an advisor appointment and she'll talk to me about what she's learned in her lab. And it's also just a unique environment in that there's 4 distinct schools. So we have engineering, arts and sciences, music, and education. And so most of my classes are in the engineering school, but you can take classes in all the different departments. So I've actually taken steel drumming, which was really fun. It was a music course, and it just was on Sunday night. It was a weird time, but it's neat because even if you're really focused on your major, there's a lot of opportunity to do other interesting things as well.
So if you took IB Math, did you not take the AP tests?
No, I was dumb. Take the AP test, do IB Math people take it, because they at law schools are a lot stricter on the scoring. Like I said, you have to get a 6 or a 7 in IB Math, and like people do get that, but I wasn't one of them. But I passed. Like I would have probably passed the AP test too. So take the AP test. It's a good plan because intro calc is not fun the second time around. It's equally as hard, if not harder, than it was the first time.
Right.
Definitely, like, if you are thinking about going into a science major, definitely consider retaking classes once you get to college too. I retook physics. I'm very glad I did because I use a lot of physics in my biomechanics class, and I probably wouldn't have remembered them if I hadn't redone this. So something.
What do you recommend taking after BC College to prepare for college?
That's a good question. So in IB, like you do calc and stats and some linear algebra-ish stuff. I would say probably do some kind of statistics, because if you're interested in bio, you're going to be doing stats forever. It doesn't seem like biomath are really that related, but when you're in the lab, really what you're doing is you're doing an experiment, counting millions and millions of colonies, and then you're looking at your trend lines, you're looking at your p-values and all your different like linear regression things, and seeing, is there a trend here? If so, how strong is it? And like, I had to learn all that stuff because I never took stats in high school. So I'll be taking biostatistics next semester. So I'm excited for that. But I think if you had a strong basis in that before trying to be in a bio lab, it'd be really a good thing.
You'll be really happy to hear, Maria, that the new AP curriculum, all we do is stats.
That's wonderful.
These people can tell you about t-test, chi-square, error bar analysis.
Good.
They're a very different place than you've been.
Okay, because it's miserable to try to figure out how to do a pair t-test like an hour before your bio lab is due, because it's not going to happen. Like, you know. Yeah, that's good. I would do that.
So what kind of engineering do you do with biology, like in your environment?
Medical engineering is a huge field. Like I have a professor who does prosthetic limbs, so that's a lot of almost mechanical engineering, but you're figuring out how to emulate parts of the body. And then, like I said, my advisor does biophotonics, so working with light. There's also a lot of people that are working in imaging, which is what I'll probably end up doing, so like MRIs and GTIs and CAT scans. There's also a lot of drug development, so if you're like a kind of chemistry person, they also like bio and engineering. You can do like drug development and how like molecules interact in the body. other people, like, we always have a senior design day where all the seniors at the end of the year show off the projects they've been working on. It's a course that you have to take. There was one last year that was actually a car seat, and it was specifically engineered so that a baby would have like a lesser chance of being hurt in a car accident. So biomedical engineering is really anything that has to do with the body and like how can we make it. So I mean it's so bad.
How have your college classes like difficulty-wise compared to high school, and do you find that they're like more competitive or less competitive?
You will not get A's in college. You'll probably get some, but you will not have a 4.0. I wouldn't have this semester. So I would say some classes will be very similar to college. I took a writing seminar and it was very similar. I mean, you're writing papers, you're reading books, but when you go to those science and math classes, the level is it just skyrockets. I was, like I said, I retook AP Calc, or not AP Calc, I just retook Intro Calc, and I was like, oh, I know this, like I can do derivatives, and I got a 61% on a test, and I was like, I actually don't know what's going on, apparently. So it's really just learning how to study independently because there's a lot less guidance, and then also realizing that there's a lot you don't know even if you've taken the subject. So yeah, there's definitely classes that will be way harder, but there's some that will be very manageable. And a lot of times, like if you're really just not getting a class, professors have office hours, and like the best thing ever is just go to their office and be like, help me, I almost failed your test, like what am I doing wrong? So yeah, you'll have to figure out kind of on your own what classes you are really good at and which ones are just, but they're different.
Any journalism, I guess, journalistic advice for anyone going to college?
Alright, so there's kind of like the trifecta of things, and it's kind of a joke, but there's sleep, there's studying, and there's friends. And it's a triangle, and usually you can only pick 2 of those things at a time without going insane. So I would say be sure to try to stay balanced. I know first semester, freshman year, I was like, I'm getting all A's, like I'm doing this. And I really didn't have a good sleep schedule. Like I was exhausted and I drink coffee all the time. And that's fun for a while until you realize that if you don't buy your $2 coffee, like you're useless. So I kind of moved on the second semester. I was really good at sleeping and studying, but I didn't really see my friends as much. And so like this year I'm trying to balance that out better and just be able to make time to see people and go to bed by midnight and still study and not get really bad grades. So a lot of it is balance and like learning how to be an independent human being. Like laundry, the first laundry day of the year is like my favorite day of the year because you see all the freshman boys with like giant full laundry bins of like a million colors and they're like calling their moms like, Mom, can my pastel pink shorts go with my white pants? Like what is this? And like I had to teach probably 3 boys how to like turn on a laundry machine. So life skills are very important things. Also like eating healthy is really hard. The freshman 15 is real. So just, realize that there are all these ice cream machines, but that like maybe once a week is better than like every breakfast. It's probably a good life lesson too. It's fun. Like it's very scary and different at first, but you'll get used to it and really enjoy it.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Anyone?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure.
No.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite like experiments you've been involved in like labs?
Alright, so I've taken physics labs and I've taken my bio lab and I also took an engineering lab last year
and it was really cool. We got